Hey, hello everyone. Thank you for joining during your lunchtime. Hopefully you can make the most of this time for Q&As regarding submissions for PPF 2024. So very quickly before going with John and his very brief presentation on PPF and the theme that is framing the submission of abstracts. I will give just some housekeeping instructions to make sure that we are using the webinar space well. But first of all, today I am joining from home, from Vancouver, from the Marple area, very close to a place that used to be Musqueam village, very close to the Fraser River. But as the Super Unit, as a provincial organization, our work extends across many Indigenous lands and territories throughout the province of British Columbia. And we acknowledge with respect and humility that our Vancouver offices are located on the traditional and unceded territories of the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh nations. If you want to share any land acknowledgement particular to your place, I'm pretty sure you can use the chat. Now for just brief instructions, if you look at the screen, you will probably see my screen looks a little different than yours, but you will see that you have the option to use the chat and the option to use Q&A. So for questions, I will recommend that you use the Q&A space. It's similar to a chat, but the questions come directly to the presenters and the hosts. And there is an option where you can choose to send the question anonymously. So if you prefer to keep your identity for yourself, you can use that option. We are recording this session, but we will edit the video before posting it on our website as a reference for those who cannot attend but want to learn more about the session and the submission of abstracts. So we will be protecting your identity anyways. The webinar space also allows us because it's basically like a presenter's kind of view. But if you have any questions, please use the chat. We are not recording the chat in case that your name comes up there. And with those very brief instructions, we will start with a very short presentation by John, and then we'll move into the Q&As. And I didn't introduce myself. My name is Maria Torjon, and I'm the Sport-Funded Entities and Partnerships Specialist. And now, please, John, go ahead.
Thank you, Maria. Hi, everybody. My name's John Ward, and I am the Learning Health System Lead for the support unit. And I guess that's why I was volunteered to give a small presentation here. And it will be a small presentation just to kind of introduce some of the concepts that we're talking about today. I hope everybody can see the screen okay. The theme of this year's conference is about learning communities. And so a common question that comes up is what is a learning community? I think historically, this term has come from lots of different places, and particularly education. The context that we're kind of framing this for the conference is around the usage of it in learning health systems, because that's a key area where learning communities are kind of central to that kind of concept. So here you can see we've got the definition. This is on the website. So a learning community is a group of people with shared interests and goals, multiple perspectives, experiences, and expertise who meaningfully collaborate to solve health and health system problems. I kind of bolded the last part there because I think it's kind of important to kind of talk about that. Community practice are probably something you're quite common with, but typically they're not focused on solving problems. And the notion of the learning community within the context of a learning health system approach is certainly around kind of finding the right people to come together to solve a problem. And so that's kind of been the guiding principle behind our thinking for the conference and for the submission process. A learning community is, as a community of people, is the right people, but it also it's a catalyst for all of these different areas. So it could be, you can have a learning community that is research that leads to a particular research program or patient-oriented research, like it can be an example of a learning community, but it's not strictly speaking exclusive to research. Implementation, for example, or evaluation requires like a learning community to do that work. Learning health systems, as I mentioned earlier, are kind of dependent on the learning community aspect. And QI and QA too, there is an element of the learning community approach in that work. It's basically a way to kind of make sure that the right people are involved and asking the questions about who needs to be involved and who's missing from the conversation. And that's kind of like what the conference is really about, as we kind of move to only thinking about supporting patient-oriented research, but then trying to think about how we support evidence into practice more generally. And the learning community is kind of part of that concept. So that's the end of my very brief slideshow, and I'm sure there's questions about my slides, and there's questions about the submission process. So I think that's a good place to kind of open it up to see what people want to talk about. I'll keep my camera on. I apologize for everybody who's hoping to see something more exciting, but hopefully this isn't too horrific for you over lunch.
Thanks, Jen. We received some questions on the Q&A chat. One says, are we able to use the 250 bursary for our patient partners billed hours to attend the conference? So I answer writing that yes, the $250 are really meant to help. If you have patient partners who are participating as co-presenters, if they're presenting with you, or maybe they are presenting on behalf of your organization, you can use them in any way that you want. We will send the instructions on how to access those 250, how we will reimburse or provide them once we give instructions for the posters. So once the selection is done, we will send more information. There is another question that says, is the schedule released? Is it an open space where people stand by their poster to present it all day or at the scheduled times? If times, how long are the presentations? So the schedule, the agenda for the day is being finalized. The posters will be available throughout the whole conference, so throughout the whole day. But there will be specific time slots where we will ask those with posters to stand by the posters. So there is that opportunity to connect with the audience to it's not necessarily that you will be doing a poster presentation, but it's really to encourage that interaction with the specific questions that those that maybe went to the room early on the day, they may have questions they may want to ask to you about them, maybe learn more about the project, and during that specific time that hopefully you can be standing by the poster, you can have that interaction. Can presentations be made virtually? Unfortunately, not. Even though you can, like in the case of, there are some presentations for the conference that will be streamed. This is not it's not a hybrid conference. The complexity is too much for us to handle, really. So unfortunately, that's not possible. So hopefully, if you are part of a team with people in different places, someone can attend in person. We are a nonprofit advocacy organization and works with patients. We are interested in submitting an abstract showing why it is important to advocate for patients and different areas of the patient inquiry for support. Also, 250 bursary is only for patient partners. Yes, but here, so even though we talk about patient partners, probably it's more adequate to say patient and community partners. I know, like, we know that there are these gray areas where you can say like, oh, you're a patient, but you're not a patient. Really, it's like, the bottom line is that we acknowledge that in the case of students, there are some bursaries that you can apply in your university. So we're counting that they will get that help. In the case of researchers, they have funds from their projects or their departments to attend these events. However, for patient partners, they may or may not have, also depending on the size of the project they're participating, they may not have access to those supports, financial supports. Even those participating in research, you have different types of research. So in this case, if it's a community-based research, for instance, we know that you're not necessarily part of a university. So in this case, like by all means, request the bursaries. So whoever is representing members of the community can participate in the as a presenter in the conference. And I will say in case of because of the topic, how is it framed? Just read the instructions, the kind of presentations or the posters that we are hoping to get, because there are very clear instructions of what we want to show there. So just make sure that what you want to present is framed within the theme for the conference. It is also only the poster. Can it be a oral presentation as well for the project? No. In this, so for this year, we are opening the call for abstracts for poster presentations. There will be oral presentations, but those are organized in a different way. However, within the submissions that we will receive for poster presentations, there will be a selection of the 3 top submissions by our review committee. And those submissions, we will invite the team or the authors to present orally. So only in those cases, there will be a chance to present for 10 minutes, 15 minutes. It's all dependent on how we are working with the agenda to give that balance between presenting and interaction. Really, we want the poster session to be an opportunity to interact with the audience. So trying to, like, presenting is good, but having dialogue, it's better. That's what we think. So that's why we are doing this in this way. Will the posters be displayed in digital or printed format? They will be printed posters. We will send them the details with the letter once the poster, the abstracts have been reviewed. We'll send further instructions, but they will be printed posters. When will the schedule be released? Soon. Our colleagues in charge of adjusting this puzzle of time slots, they're working very hard to get it released as soon as possible. I cannot give an exact date though, but it will be, once we have it, rest assured that we will be very loud about about promoting it. So you can always check our website and social media channels. We should be included in submission authors, for example, all co-investigators of a grant application. This really depends on your agreement with the research team, with your team. There are different ways of talking about authorship and how you want to manage. So I would say that refer to any conversations you have had as a team. It might be that you want to use similar guidelines as the ones that you will use for writing a paper, for submitting a paper to certain journals. We don't have a policy to give you. It's like, it's really this is also part of in the case of patient engagement, this is also part of the conversation that you should all have to feel comfortable. Okay, so like this is a follow-up to the question for the nonprofit advocacy organization. You are totally eligible to submit, and for this, I would like to throw the ball again to John, because in a way, when we talk about learning communities, we are not just using like a fancy word because it sounds good for the title. Like there is a full intention behind it. So if you want to expand on that, because I think it has to do with understanding, like really, like why we are why we are asking what we are asking. There is a rationale on that, and a real strong intention.
Did you want me to follow up on that, Maria?
Yeah, yes, it's
Yeah,
clear.
so. Yeah, I mean, I obviously I can't tell you how to frame your abstract submissions. I mean, I think that's up to everybody here, but I think that's the criteria is kind of talking specifically about what we're looking for. So it's whatever your initiative is, it's really about focusing on how do you frame it in the context of engagement. So it could be anything. It could be quite broad, and that's the whole intent here, is to do something a little different, is to kind of focus on that. But I think that's where we're kind of trying to see like how people are engaging. The necessary. We talked about the right people. What does that mean to you? What does that mean for your problem that you're trying to look at? How do you go about engaging those people, identifying those people, meeting those people? These are the kind of questions that I think we're trying to ask people to reflect on. And so any initiative that kind of meets that and is able to kind of make that case, I think is something that would be considered. But yeah, I think it's just about looking at what the submission guidelines are asking and kind of really sort of targeting that specifically, not necessarily just what the overall goal of your initiative is, or project, for example, because we're not focused on the findings in this case. We're asking very specific questions around meaningful engagement of the people who are coming together to solve this problem.
Thanks, John. And just like connecting again, probably it's now like more clear after John's reply. How about individuals who aren't researchers or patient partners or students? What about patient activists? We are not giving you a hard no in any case. We are really inviting everyone who feels that PPF is the space to share your work. The only guideline is what we are asking for in the case of the submissions. We have an evaluation criteria. We have the guidelines. You will see that the guidelines are very open in the sense that they're not. If you read them, you will see that probably researchers will feel even more complicated about them, because we are not asking for research findings. We are really asking about learning communities, how people work together to fix a problem. So that's the only thing you need to be mindful. Now, PPF as a conference, the door is wide open. It's like everyone is invited. Again, if this conference speaks to you, by all means, please come in. Registration is free, and that's a way for us to really make sure that anyone who can attend or who would like to attend can attend. We know that there are some other barriers, but we are trying to do our best to keep it as accessible as possible. Our organization worked with a research student as part of our engagement with our learning community. We are wondering if the submission should be made under the name of the organization's name. Follow up that if made under the student's name and the student is not able to attend, is that a problem? The submission, I would like, just for clarity, I would say if it's better if you do it under the name of the student or another person that you know who can attend, because this is only for us to get your abstract, and then we manage this. When we send this to the reviewers, they are not seeing names; they're just seeing the content of the abstract. But then when we follow up on the submissions, you will have a chance to if there are any changes in the case of authorship, not the contents of the abstract, because that's reviewed, but if there is anything with the authorship of the person who is presenting, and then the information that we will use to get we will post the abstract on our website. It's more like a PDF, but it will be available for the public. In that case, you can add all the other names, because right now we know we are asking for one name, and really, like, we work in teams most of the time. So you will have a chance to actually put all the names of the people who are part of the team involved in creating the poster, and the project involved in creating this poster. Does it matter if my project doesn't have any conclusive results, outcomes at the time of submissions? That's perfectly fine. Perfectly fine. We are also interested. This is learning communities. This is about relationships, and we know it's a process. And it's exactly that process that we are very, very interested in learning about. So probably if you are just starting, if you just have like a initial idea, maybe that's too early. But if you're already involved in the process and you can benefit from the discussion of, this is where we are, this is where we want to go, that's perfectly fine. That we are very much interested in learning about that, and hopefully you can benefit from participating in PPF to get some feedback for improving that process as well.
So okay, if I add something to that, Maria. So yeah, I think that's exactly right, and I think that's why we're welcoming these kind of conversations. I wanted to add though that if you have a completed project too, it's also okay to talk about how the engagement impacted the findings, because we know that obviously the type and format of engagement is often also important. So again, it really just make the case according to the criteria what we're looking for, but your project absolutely could be in a very early stage. It doesn't have to be completed.
Yeah. Thanks, Jen. Can I present on a project that I presented on at a previous conference? Yes, you can. Just check that the other conference doesn't have a specific policy on that, but in terms of content, most likely you won't be presenting exactly the same. You can present the same project, but probably the content of the abstract and the content of the poster will be kind of different, because as I said, it's like the way that we are framing our ask for the posters is very different than your regular knowledge dissemination poster. But yeah, no problem. And oh yeah, Marcelo, do you have something to add? I see a note here to answer.
All good. I think you answered well. Thank you.
Is the criteria available on the website currently? Kindly, can you show me how to navigate to the information on the website? So while I open the link to share the screen, John or Marcelo, can you continue reading the questions and answering so I don't stop the flow?
Yeah, sure. So there's a question again saying, study is not complete. Can we submit an abstract about where we are? Yeah, absolutely. Again, it's really about like the focus of the engagement. That's kind of what we're kind of looking to sort of get at here. So absolutely, it doesn't matter if it's completed. Hopefully that answers that question. Yeah, Marcelo, you want to jump in?
No, that's great. I think, yeah, we're on the same page about the projects that are meaningful to be presented at this conference, even though they have been, the project might belong to a different disciplinary background, etc. That's great. Yeah, so again, I think we're focusing on the process and not necessarily on the outcome. So we're happy to have projects that are on the go that of course will have some ending in the time being. Happy to take on the next question. Who is the primary audience of the conference? Am I wondering at what level of information I should communicate at? So this is a great question. Because in patient-oriented research, we're we're advocate of plain language type of usage, and even though we might have health specialists and health professionals, etc., we're also inviting a very important patient community, as well as the public in general. So submissions are invited to use plain language as possible, and there are some different tools about plain language, some of them embedded into the BC Support Unit tools. So I think the audience is going to be quite diverse. So please try to attempt to use plain language in order to effectively communicate it well. As we also know that it's kind of premise of high functioning teams who are composed of different audiences. So plain language is fine.
Okay, so can you see my screen? So this is, let me first, so there is a question about like there are several questions that are, I think they're answered as part of the FAQs that we have on the website. And there is a question about trying to find the criteria to submit the abstract. So I will show the landing page. So this is the landing page of PPF. Marcelo or John, can you paste the link on the chat so people actually know where I am? Okay, so if you go, and even if you browse, Putting Patient First 2024 BC Support Unit, probably this is the website where you will land. This is the main page of the conference, and within this page, you can navigate to submit your project. So when you go to submit your project, you will go to, okay, so it will take you directly to the submission page. So here, this will be helpful if you are directly submitting, if you're ready to submit. Then you can see the different parts that we're expecting you will add in your abstract. So introduction and background for this is specify the problem or issue being explored, articulate the relevance of the problem to the health system, then give information on the learning community engagement and knowledge mobilization. So, and then you can, acknowledging those parts, you can write on Word on another program, and then copy paste into the box, making sure you have the 600 words and that you are addressing all these issues. Now, let me go back to the landing page. Okay, so, okay, it was laid out differently. So this is the landing page for the submissions. And if you scroll down, submission details and travel support, then you have a lot of answers to your questions. Some of those are in the chat. And the selection criteria is also part of what we included here. So I will say, I invite you to go to this page, scroll down, check the questions, and once you have clarity on that, you can go to the submission, to the actual submission page. And of course, if you have any questions, there are two ways of contacting us. If you have questions about the content of the abstract, about the conference, please send an email to ppf@healthresearchbc.ca. And if you have any technical issues submitting your project, you can always contact us here, but also there is another email that you will find once you get into the submission page, right, to the form, that goes directly to the company that is managing all this techie part of the submissions. Okay, so you have those two ways of getting help. We are 2 minutes past 12:30. I think that some of you are probably skipping lunch to be here. I don't know if there are any pressing questions that I am missing. Can you submit more than once? That is a great question. Although an author can submit more than one abstract, the review committee will only accept one submission per project. So, for example, if I had 2 projects, one of my projects is about developing educational materials to promote patient engagement in research in my healthcare organization. And then I have another project on developing a learning community to improve communication with patients to help them prepare for a specific type of diagnostic exam. So 2 projects, they are different in their purpose, and maybe they have funding from different sources. And then I decide to do 2 submissions for each project, as each submission provides different information about each of these projects. If all the submissions fulfill the eligibility and evaluation criteria, the review committee will accept one of my submissions for the first project and one of my submissions for the second project. So yes, if there are any more questions, please send us an email. We're checking our emails. We know that time is clicking. So anything about the conference or the submissions, please let us know. And really, really thank you for taking these 30 minutes to connect with us and for the great questions. We are really, really grateful to having this opportunity to connect with you all. And hopefully we will see you in the conference. We will have a chance to meet each other face to face.